Good morning. This is KELOLAND on the go with all you need to know in news and weather as you start your day.
A Lower Brule man will spend just over a decade behind bars after being convicted of voluntary manslaughter. 32-year-old Joseph Thompson Sr. was sentenced to 10 years and 8 months behind bars, followed by 3 years of supervised release.
The U.S. Attorney's Office says that in March of this year, Thompson was at a friend's house when he heard something outside. He went outside and found a man standing near the home. Thompson then stabbed the man with a knife 5 times. A jury has convicted a Rapid City man on drug charges. The U.S. Attorney's Office says 35-year-old Sam Boyd began getting meth from someone in Colorado in fall of 2020. The meth was either mailed or transported to western South Dakota.
Boyd would then distribute it to others to sell. He faces up to life in prison and a $10 million fine. A sentencing date has not been set. The U.S. Justice Department says that the owners of the Grand Gateway Hotel in Rapid City have entered into a consent decree for a discrimination lawsuit against Native American customers. Under the consent decree, Connie Uri will be banned from serving as an officer or director of the company or from exercising any management duties or being involved in any operations on behalf of the Grand Gateway Hotel for 4 years. The defendants will also issue a public apology and send it to tribal organizations in South Dakota and throughout the Great Plains region.
Following a shooting in March 2022 near the hotel, one of the owners made several comments on Facebook threatening to ban all Native Americans from the hotel and Cheers sports bar. Those comments led to protests and boycotts. The consent decree must still be approved by the U.S. District Court for the District of South Dakota.
Now let's get a check of our weather with meteorologist Scott Munt. Another warm day out there today, Scott.
Oh, warm today, warm for the next several days. We'll get these temperatures in the 60s to near 70 degrees in parts of western South Dakota. We will continue with the mild temperatures throughout much of this week, along with it, periods of wind. Brian Carstens will have more details on your forecast coming up.
Thank you, Scott. Today is our KELOLAND Winter Doppler Special. Our meteorologists will have a look at what to expect over the next several months when it comes to the cold and snow. And of course, Scott will give us his snow prediction. The Winter Doppler Special airing tonight at 6:30 right here on KELO TV.
Volunteers and members at the VFW spent Sunday afternoon preparing care packages for the 323rd Chemical Unit. The unit is made up of 150 troops from Sioux Falls and Vermilion. The care packages were made up of snacks, activities, and messages of support from the Dakota Horizon Girl Scouts. Tracy Pepin helped pack the 150 packages for the troops.
Her son James is a member of the unit. He was deployed to Kuwait in June. Pepin says it's important for the holidays to show support for families with members overseas.
It really is. I didn't know what to expect when James said that he was being deployed and whatnot. And you talk to people that they've been through it, and they're pretty much your go-to because they understand where you're at with it and how you're feeling.
The care packages will be delivered around Thanksgiving. A food pantry in eastern KELOLAND has served 187 new households so far this year.
Last year, the Brookings County Food Pantry saw 200 new households needing food. A longtime staff member says she's seen the demand for food grow at the pantry.
I've noticed an increase, and I think a lot of it is due to the prices at the grocery store. And also a lot of people, rent is so expensive.
If you'd like to donate money or food to the pantry, use the link in this story right here on KELOLAND.com. Well, let's look at some of our top stories.
Now let's get one last look at your weather with meteorologist Brian Carstens. Brian?
Okay, some weather to cover today. First and foremost, upfront forecast is very mild. We do have increasing winds today. Central and western South Dakota will be first. We'll have several gusts over 30, and that will help to propel those temperatures well into the 60s. Even Aberdeen near 60 late in the afternoon with a strengthening southerly wind. I think the wind will increase in Sioux Falls tonight, and as that happens, temperatures will respond. It will not be all that cold tomorrow morning, at least temperature-wise, into the 40s for for the vast majority. Now, tomorrow, there will be a couple things changing. A northwest wind coming into western South Dakota. Still mild, though. We're not connected to anything cold. Sioux Falls, oh, that southwest wind. That is a classic setup to warming. We'll see if we stop at 65 or 66. There's a potential there to be even a couple degrees warmer than that. And looks like that south wind will have strength to it. Now, on Wednesday, we dial back the wind. We'll see high pressure, still overall very mild. We've been pretty effective at getting 60-degree weather in this pattern. I think we'll see more of that. Thursday gets a little more interesting because we're going to see a Canadian cold front, not a major front, but it's enough to kind of shake up the weather a little bit. Thursday afternoon into Friday could see a period of wind and cooler weather. You can actually see the trough associated with that right here. See this little crinkle, this little crease right there? That's going to come through the northern plains. But our attention for next week, we have to spend a little time talking about what's going on with the weather, because we now have a pretty favorable setup here for a storm system to kick out of the southwest here early next week. It's either going to be late Sunday or into Monday. Now, that low, as it comes out, looks like it'll latch onto some Gulf of Mexico moisture. It looks initially like it'll be fairly wet through the central and southern plains. Obviously, some of that could extend into parts of South Dakota. The question that we are going to be kind of, well, wrestling with here the next couple of days is what to do with this system in conjunction with some more energy that's going to come out of the Pacific Northwest. Now, one thing about weather you have to realize in November, the more you can phase these systems, these colder and southerly components of the jet streams, the more interesting the weather can become. So I'm going to play those two out today. We'll be back tomorrow. In fact, even later today, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But those are things that I think could grab your attention, because next week could introduce more precipitation, colder weather, windy weather at times, and all that's going to kind of lead in right before Thanksgiving. But the details, yeah, we still have a lot of things there to iron out. And I would say for today, just kind of sit there and just get your attention a little bit as we watch the weather. Certainly the first 7 days, nothing major. The only fly in the ointment here is probably Thursday night into Friday. There'll be some gusty winds, and it will turn colder by Friday. I could see that day being reduced even a little bit more. And then the weekend, we're kind of positioning things ahead of that storm system in the 50s, and we'll kind of leave it at that for today with a 30% chance of rain by day 7. That could be delayed another day, kind of shift that back into Monday. But at some point, storm system will kick out of the west, and we'll deal with that. So take in the next several days. Enjoy it. Make sure if you've got things you're planning outside, you can take those in just fine. With Pierre well into the 60s the next 3 days, and even Rapid City too. A lot of great weather coming up this week. More details on that system for next week. Yeah, you'll find that too online here at KELOLAND.com.